In the shadows of society, a hidden power thrives, operating far from the public eye. It's a force that shapes decisions and influences events on a global scale. One that manipulates the elite not through elections or public debate, but through the leverage of carefully guarded secrets. This is the Shadow Network, a clandestine web where presidents, princes, and tycoons become puppets, unknowingly dancing to the tune of unseen masters. Their darkest secrets are weaponized against them, turning them into assets within this intricate game. The Jeffrey Epstein saga is not just about one man's crimes, it's a chilling example. It's a rare glimpse into a system, a complex machine, meticulously designed to compromise and control, exerting influence over individuals, and ultimately, the world's most powerful figures. Epstein's world was a grotesque theater, a carefully constructed stage, luring the elite into traps of blackmail, meticulously documented and strategically deployed. A game of power and mutual destruction, where no one truly wins. Here, every handshake is a threat, a silent agreement laced with unspoken conditions, every whisper a potential downfall, capable of shattering reputations and dismantling empires. The network he built blurred the lines, creating a dangerous ambiguity between legitimate power and the criminal underworld, forging alliances in the shadows, binding the global elite with shared guilt, creating a bond forged in darkness. The silence from those implicated is deafening, a carefully orchestrated wall of denial, a testament to the power of the secrets they harbor, and the lengths they will go to protect them. This is no conspiracy theory, no mere speculation, it's a documented reality, supported by evidence and testimonies, fiercely protected and deliberately obscured, hidden behind layers of legal maneuvering and political influence. To understand Epstein is to confront a legacy of weaponized secrets, a system of exploitation, where the powerful are chained by their own hidden sins, trapped in a gilded cage of their own making. The truth is more disturbing than fiction, a dark reflection of the world we inhabit. In this world, secrets are the currency, the ultimate bargaining chip, and no one at the top is truly free, forever bound by the shadows of their past. Epstein's playbook wasn't created in a vacuum, it was inherited, refined, and amplified. It stemmed from a dark tradition, a sinister methodology, perfected by figures like Meyer Lansky in the mid-20th century, a time when organized crime was reshaping the American landscape. Lansky's syndicate strategically used brothels, gambling dens, and crucially, hidden cameras, to compromise politicians, judges, and even law enforcement officials. Those who were meant to uphold the law were instead ensnared by it. They turned compromising secrets into lifelong leverage, a form of control more potent than any bribe. This marked the insidious birth of institutionalized sexual blackmail, a chilling tactic. A tool that allowed organized crime to infiltrate and manipulate the very institutions meant to stop them, corrupting the system from within. Simultaneously, intelligence agencies like the CIA and Hoover's FBI, operating under the guise of national security, adopted similar tactics, blurring the lines between justice and exploitation. They were amassing private files filled with compromising material, using it to control perceived threats and silence rivals. Blackmail, therefore, became a weapon of statecraft, a tool wielded not just by criminals, but by entire governments. Roy Cohn, a particularly ruthless lawyer with deep ties to both the mob and immense political power, embodied this dangerous fusion, using carefully guarded secrets to destroy enemies and shield allies from scrutiny. The convergence of organized crime and intelligence agencies created a clandestine shadow marketplace of control, where information was currency and leverage was king. From this toxic soil, the Epstein network would later emerge, a dark flower blooming in a garden of corruption. It inherited a well-established model of power, one built on the foundations of fear, blackmail, and the compromise of influential figures. The seeds of Epstein's operation were sown decades before he appeared on the scene, nurtured by a culture of impunity and a thirst for control. The bridge between Cold War espionage and Epstein's blackmail empire was Robert Maxwell, a media tycoon with rumored ties to MI6, Mossad, and the KGB. Maxwell's publishing empire and software companies allegedly served as platforms for influence and intelligence operations, weaponizing information on a global scale. His daughter, Ghislaine Maxwell, inherited his Rolodex and his understanding of power. Epstein's sudden rise in the 1980s, without clear origins of wealth, remains a mystery. But his partnership with Ghislaine was no accident. After Robert Maxwell's mysterious death, Epstein and Ghislaine seamlessly continued the family's legacy of clandestine influence. Epstein provided the resources and operational bases. Ghislaine brought social access and legitimacy. Together, they adapted the Maxwell model for a new era, blending financial power with intelligence tradecraft. Their partnership was not just personal, it was the continuation of a global operation. Epstein's empire was built on the foundations of espionage, blackmail, and inherited secrets. In the 1990s, Epstein and Maxwell transformed their operation into a global blackmail machine. Epstein's properties, lavish, isolated, and meticulously surveilled, became stages for entrapment. Ghislaine recruited both powerful men and vulnerable young women, using her charm to lure targets into Epstein's world. Once inside, guests were introduced to underage victims, with every encounter allegedly recorded by hidden cameras. The goal: create irrefutable evidence, turning guests into assets for a larger agenda. The psychological toll on victims was immense, but for Epstein and Maxwell, they were pawns in a game of power. The operation was self-perpetuating. Compromised men brought in others, expanding the network's reach. Flights on the Lolita Express and exclusive parties were logistical operations, moving targets and victims across borders. The web was perfectly woven, ensnaring the world's elite and holding them indefinitely. This was not random criminality, it was a system, refined and relentless. The network's influence grew with every secret captured. Epstein's network reached the highest echelons: former presidents Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, Prince Andrew, and titans of finance and tech. Clinton's repeated flights on Epstein's jet and Trump's social ties raised questions that still linger. Prince Andrew's association, immortalized in a notorious photograph, led to scandal and exile from royal duties. Billionaire Leslie Wexner's inexplicable trust in Epstein and Bill Gates's post-conviction meetings highlight Epstein's enduring value to the elite. These connections suggest Epstein was more than a socialite or blackmailer. He was likely an intelligence asset, gathering compromat for powerful interests. By entrapping leaders from rival factions and nations, the network could manipulate policy and neutralize threats. The blackmail material was the ultimate tool, allowing unseen handlers to control global events. Epstein's operation blurred the lines between private vice and public power. The question remains, who truly benefited from the secrets he collected? The reach of his network was unprecedented and terrifying. In 2008, Epstein faced overwhelming evidence of abuse yet escaped with a secret plea deal that stunned the world. The non-prosecution agreement, brokered by Alexander Acosta, shielded Epstein and his associates from federal charges. Epstein's sentence, 13 months in a county jail with generous work release, was a mockery of justice. The deal's sweeping immunity fueled speculation that Epstein was protected by intelligence interests. Acosta later claimed he was told to leave it alone, hinting at Epstein's value to powerful agencies. This was not a failure of justice, but a system protecting its own. Epstein's untouchable status allowed his operation to continue for another decade. The episode exposed a two-tiered justice system, one for the elite, another for everyone else. The secrets remained safe, and the network endured. For years after his sweetheart deal, a controversial agreement that many felt let him off far too lightly, Epstein operated with impunity, seemingly untouchable, his wealth and connections shielding him from true accountability. But the tide began to turn as public pressure mounted, and relentless investigative journalism finally forced a reckoning in 2019. The truth was starting to surface. Arrested and charged with sex trafficking, a crime that carried the weight of immense public condemnation, Epstein was held in a high-security jail in Manhattan, his safety supposedly paramount, given the high-profile nature of the case. Yet, a series of bizarre failures followed, a chain of events that defied logic and raised serious questions about the integrity of the system. It began with a prior suicide attempt, a clear indication of his fragile mental state, followed by his removal from suicide watch, a decision that would later be heavily scrutinized. Then came the reports of sleeping guards, dereliction of duty at its most critical point, and malfunctioning cameras, leaving blind spots in the very place where surveillance should have been absolute. Adding to the mystery, he had a missing cellmate. On August 10, 2019, Epstein was found dead in his cell. Officially ruled a suicide by hanging, a conclusion that many found difficult to accept, but surrounded by deeply suspicious circumstances that fueled countless conspiracy theories. Forensic experts openly questioned the official cause of death, challenging the narrative presented to the public, citing injuries more consistent with strangulation, a violent act suggesting foul play. The sheer number of coincidences, each more improbable than the last, stretched belief to its breaking point. Many saw his death not as a tragedy but as a silencing, a deliberate act, a calculated move to protect the powerful and influential from exposure and potential prosecution. Epstein's secrets, the knowledge he possessed, died with him, locked away forever, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and a lingering sense of injustice. The network's core, the individuals who enabled and participated in his crimes, remained intact, untouched by the fallout, its secrets buried deeper than ever, shielded by wealth, power, and influence. The world was left with a potent mix of outrage, deep skepticism, and a chilling sense of unfinished business, a feeling that justice had not been served. The silence that followed Epstein's death was as telling, and perhaps even more damning, than any confession he could have made. Epstein's death locked away the most direct path to the truth, but the files remain, a vault of damning secrets. Most records are still sealed, containing names, logs, and blackmail material that could shake the foundations of power. Victims and journalists fight for transparency, but powerful John Does deploy vast resources to keep their names hidden. Each document release is piecemeal, redacted, and carefully managed to protect the core of the network. The selective unsealing of names suggests ongoing control by unseen hands. The sealed files are not just history, they're an active threat to the global order. Until the full truth is revealed, the network's power endures. The battle for the files is a fight for justice, and for the soul of the system itself. The Epstein story is a stark reminder that a hidden web of blackmail and control still shapes our world. Epstein was a practitioner, not the architect, of a system that predates him and survives his death. The network's methods, sexual compromise, information control, are too valuable to disappear. Public trust in justice and leadership has been shattered, replaced by suspicion and fear. The unanswered questions about Epstein's backers, the fate of the blackmail, and who holds the power now, remain locked away. The compromised remain in positions of influence, their decisions shadowed by secrets. The web adapts, exploiting new technologies and vulnerabilities. The fight for transparency is a fight against this unseen power. Until every secret is exposed, the network will persist, manipulating events from the shadows. The silence at the heart of the network is not defeat, it's proof of its enduring strength.